You're in the middle of an argument. Your heart is pounding. Your fists are clenched. And you're ready to say something you'll regret. But what if you didn't? What if, just for a moment, you could pause and see things clearly? In this video, we'll explore 13 Stoic techniques that can completely transform the way you handle conflict. Not with anger. Not with ego. But with calm, strength, and wisdom. This is the Stoic path. Imagine this: you're standing in the heat of an argument. Your heart races. Your voice rises. You feel your body tense, ready to fire back, to win, to dominate. But then, pause. What if, instead of reacting, you responded? Not with force, but with strength. Not with ego, but with clarity. This isn't weakness. This is Stoicism. In a world that glorifies quick comebacks and winning every disagreement, the Stoic path offers something radically different: control. Not of others, but of yourself. This video isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about transforming it. We'll explore how ancient Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus handled disputes, not with swords, but with wisdom. And how you, too, can turn confrontations into opportunities for growth, integrity, and inner peace. Let's start with one powerful idea: you don't have to attend every fight you're invited to. That may sound simple, but it's revolutionary in practice. When someone criticizes you, disrespects you, or pushes your buttons, the Stoic doesn't retaliate. He investigates. Why is this person reacting this way? What fear or pain might be behind their words? Is this truly about me? This shift, from reacting to reflecting, gives you control over the moment. Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher, once said, "Anger is like acid. It does more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." In other words, by holding on to rage, you're the one who suffers most. That's why the first Stoic technique for handling conflict is simple, but essential: take a breath. Step back. Observe, not absorb. That doesn't mean you're passive. It means you choose your battles with wisdom, not impulse. One of the most effective tools here is what we can call the Seneca pause. When confronted, instead of reacting instantly, you take a conscious pause, just a few seconds to ask yourself, is this worth it? Will engaging serve my values, or is it just my ego wanting to win? Those few seconds could save relationships, reputations, and even your own mental health. Now, imagine you're already in the middle of a heated discussion. Your voice is rising. Tension is escalating. What then? That's when we reach for another Stoic tool: speak with calm clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." In conflict, that means you hold yourself to the highest standard of conduct, even when others don't. You can disagree without demeaning. You can express anger without aggression. You can stand your ground without burning the bridge. A practical method for this is the use of I statements. Instead of saying, "You're always dismissing me," try, "I feel dismissed when I'm interrupted." The difference is huge. One triggers defensiveness. The other invites conversation. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about expressing them with intention. But sometimes, conflict isn't about who's right, it's about what both parties truly value. Often, arguments escalate because both sides feel unseen or unheard. So here's a radical idea from the Stoic toolkit: find common ground. When you stop seeing the other person as an enemy and start seeing them as a fellow human, flawed, just like you, the walls begin to crumble. This is where empathy becomes a weapon of peace. Not weakness, strength. Try this: during your next disagreement, silently ask yourself, what does this person really care about? What are they afraid of losing? That subtle shift softens your tone, expands your perspective, and builds trust, even in conflict. Another advanced Stoic skill is what we might call value mirroring. This involves identifying what the other person values most: honesty, fairness, loyalty, and then framing your position in terms of those values. For example, if someone values fairness, you might say, "I want to make sure both of us feel heard and respected. That feels fair to me." This isn't manipulation. It's alignment. It's speaking their language in a way that bridges differences. And then, there's humor. Yes, humor. Even Marcus Aurelius had a sense of lightness. In moments of tension, a well-placed, good-natured joke can defuse the bomb. But beware, this isn't sarcasm. It's not ridicule. It's levity. It's the kind of humor that says, we're both human. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. Used wisely, it opens space for connection where confrontation once ruled. But let's be clear, Stoicism isn't about being a doormat. It's about strength under control. A Stoic can say, no, a Stoic can defend boundaries. But he does it without rage. He does it with calm conviction. That's why the next part of this journey will focus on how to set clear boundaries, how to forgive without forgetting, and how to walk away from toxic dynamics without losing your dignity. Because ultimately, Stoicism teaches us this: you can't control how others act, but you can always control how you respond. And sometimes, the most powerful response isn't louder words, it's quiet strength. Let's now dive deeper into one of the most misunderstood but transformative Stoic practices: compassion through listening. Most of us think listening is passive. We wait for the other person to finish just so we can make our next point. But true listening, active, embodied, Stoic listening, is one of the most powerful tools in diffusing conflict and connecting with others. The Stoics believed that we are all parts of a greater whole, bound together by shared humanity. Epictetus taught that we should listen with the intention to understand, not to reply. That subtle distinction turns every conversation into an opportunity for connection. And in conflict, it creates something magical: empathy without surrender. Imagine being in a heated argument and simply saying, "Help me understand what you're feeling right now." Not in a condescending way. Genuinely. It's incredible how often that softens even the most defensive people. Why? Because when people feel seen and heard, they stop shouting. This doesn't mean you're agreeing with them. It means you're acknowledging their experience, which is fundamentally human. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions, it's about not letting emotions dominate you. When you give space for someone else's feelings, you're actually demonstrating mastery over your own. And when both sides feel heard, compromise becomes possible. This brings us to the next Stoic principle of conflict transformation: the art of healthy compromise. Most people think compromise means losing something. But Stoics saw it differently. They understood that compromise is a sign of flexibility, not weakness. It means you've risen above the petty need to be right, and instead chosen peace over pride. Here's a Stoic framework you can apply. Before entering any negotiation or conflict resolution, ask yourself: 1. What are my core values in this situation? 2. What am I willing to let go of? 3. What does a win really look like? This kind of clarity allows you to let go of non-essentials and focus on outcomes that align with your character and long-term peace. It's not about outsmarting the other person, it's about outgrowing the need to dominate. But what if compromise fails? What if the other party won't budge? This is when the Stoic turns to a timeless principle: ask for help. There's a strange pride in modern life that discourages people from seeking outside guidance. But the Stoics didn't pretend they knew everything. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, constantly sought advice from mentors and philosophers. When conflict reaches a deadlock, whether in business, family, or friendship, bringing in a neutral third party isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Think of it as introducing clean air into a stuffy room. It allows both sides to breathe, to reset, and to hear truths they might otherwise resist. Sometimes, that neutral voice is a therapist. Other times, it's a mentor, a mutual friend, or even a well-chosen book. The point is, you don't have to fix every relationship alone. Wisdom lies in knowing when to seek clarity from outside your emotional storm. Of course, some conflicts leave deep emotional wounds. Bitterness, anger, betrayal, they cling to us like shadows. And that's why the next Stoic lesson might be the hardest of all: forgiveness. Now, let's be honest. Forgiveness is not easy. And it's definitely not the same as forgetting. But in the Stoic view, forgiveness is essential, not for the other person, but for your own liberation. Seneca once wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." That is, pain is part of life. People will fail you. They will hurt you. You will be betrayed. But if you carry that bitterness, you become a prisoner of your own resentment. Stoicism invites you to break those chains. Forgiveness is not a moral high ground. It's a conscious choice to let go of what no longer serves your peace. You're not excusing the behavior. You're refusing to be consumed by it. Imagine anger as a hot coal. You can hurl it at someone, or you can drop it and walk away. Which one brings you peace? But how do you forgive without denying your pain? Here's where Stoicism offers a paradoxical but powerful insight: use your pain as fuel. Reflect on what you've learned. Let the wound become wisdom. Let the betrayal refine your boundaries, sharpen your discernment, deepen your compassion, not make you cynical, but wiser and calmer. The Stoics taught that suffering, when met with reflection, becomes a teacher. So instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" That question changes everything. It transforms scars into strength. It turns emotional ashes into fertile soil for growth. And here's the truth most people miss: every conflict, every painful relationship, every betrayal, it's a mirror. It reveals something within us. Maybe our need to be right. Our fear of being alone. Our craving for validation. Or maybe it simply shows that we've outgrown a version of ourselves we used to be. Which leads to the next Stoic tool: self-reflection after conflict. Most people move on too quickly, rushing to the next thing, burying the pain, pretending nothing happened. But the Stoic pauses. He asks, what did this conflict reveal about me? What patterns am I repeating? What lesson am I being invited to learn? You don't need a therapist's couch to do this. A quiet room, a blank journal, or a walk in nature is enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for others, but for himself. It was his daily practice of examining the soul, refining his character, and choosing virtue over impulse. So the next time you face conflict, don't just survive it. Study it. Mine it for meaning. And let it shape you into someone calmer, wiser, more grounded. Because the Stoic doesn't seek to win arguments, he seeks to win clarity. As we approach the final phase of this journey, we'll explore what it means to set healthy boundaries and how to protect your peace without building walls around your heart. Because the Stoic's power is not in shutting people out, it's in knowing when to walk away with grace. Now let's talk about something many people struggle with, but few ever master: boundaries. In a world that constantly demands more of your time, your energy, and your attention, setting boundaries can feel selfish. But for the Stoic, boundaries are not selfish at all. In fact, they're essential. Epictetus said, "Know what you can control, and what you cannot." That wisdom isn't only about fate or external events, it's also about people. You cannot control how others treat you. But you can absolutely decide what you allow, what you tolerate, and where you draw the line. A boundary isn't a wall. It's a door, with a lock. And you hold the key. It says, this is what I'm okay with. This is what I'm not. But here's the thing most people get wrong: boundaries aren't just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. Yes to your peace. Yes to your values. Yes to your time and energy. The Stoic doesn't scream or lash out when someone crosses the line. He calmly reinforces it. Not with aggression, but with certainty. That's the true strength of a Stoic boundary. It's not reactive, it's intentional. And that kind of inner clarity radiates outward. Let's say someone constantly interrupts you, criticizes you, or drains your energy. The old response might be to explode in frustration, or silently endure it. But the Stoic response is this: recognize the behavior, understand your own limit, and then communicate it clearly and respectfully. That's power. That's self-respect. You might say, I value our relationship, but I need to be spoken to with respect. If that's not possible, I'll need to step away. You're not threatening. You're not begging. You're simply stating your truth. Stoicism teaches that dignity is non-negotiable. This leads naturally into one of the most radical Stoic practices, walking away, not out of anger, but out of alignment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that life is short, that his time was sacred, and that he must not waste it on petty drama or empty noise. That means that sometimes, the most Stoic thing you can do, is leave. You don't have to slam the door. You don't have to make a scene. You just quietly decide, this space, this relationship, this situation no longer supports my growth. And then you go. Not with resentment, but with resolve. But what if that space is family? Or work? Or a lifelong friend? Here, Stoicism again offers practical clarity. You may not always have the luxury of walking away completely, but you always have the power to redefine your level of engagement. You can choose to be less emotionally available. You can choose to protect your peace, even in the presence of chaos. That's where we return to one of the deepest truths of Stoic practice: you always control your response. Always. Even in the most triggering, frustrating, emotionally charged situations, you can still pause, breathe, and choose how to act. And yes, sometimes that means choosing silence. The ancient Stoics believed that silence is not weakness, it's wisdom in disguise. In moments of escalating conflict, saying nothing can be far more powerful than saying too much. Silence gives space. It diffuses intensity. It forces others to sit with their own discomfort. But silence doesn't mean surrender. It means you're reserving your energy for something more important, your own clarity. Because while everyone else is arguing, projecting, and demanding, you're grounding yourself in truth. This is what the Stoics meant by self-mastery. Not perfection. Not robotic detachment. But the ability to regulate your internal world, regardless of what's happening externally. You can't control if someone lies to you. But you can control if you retaliate, if you ruminate, if you let it break your inner peace. And this is the final lesson for today: your peace is your responsibility. Not your partner's. Not your boss's. Not your friend's. Yours. And once you accept that truth, conflict loses much of its power over you. Because you no longer need to win every fight. You just need to stay aligned with your values. When you look at conflict through a Stoic lens, you stop seeing enemies, you start seeing teachers. That difficult person is a test of your patience. That betrayal is a chance to build resilience. That disagreement is an invitation to speak your truth more clearly. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you become someone new. Someone unshakable. Someone who walks into chaos and brings calm. Someone who listens deeply, speaks deliberately, forgives wisely, and walks away when necessary. And that's what Stoicism is all about. It's not about being cold or emotionless. It's about being so grounded in your principles that the storms of life can't knock you over. It's about choosing dignity over drama, reflection over reaction, and wisdom over ego. So the next time you feel pulled into a conflict, pause. Breathe. Remember who you are. And ask yourself, what would the wisest version of me do right now? In the final part of this journey, we'll bring it all together. We'll revisit the 13 Stoic techniques that can transform not only how you manage conflict, but how you manage yourself. Because ultimately, the greatest battlefield is within. And the greatest victory? That's mastering your mind. Here we are, at the final part of our journey, a return, not to where we started, but to where we've grown. You've walked through the fires of conflict with Stoic insight as your guide. You've learned to observe rather than absorb, to respond rather than react, and to protect your peace like a sacred flame. Now, let's bring everything together into a single, coherent philosophy, a daily practice of strength, clarity, and emotional mastery. Let's revisit the 13 Stoic techniques for managing conflict, but this time, not just as abstract ideas, but as tools you can integrate into your everyday life. 1. See beyond the surface. When someone lashes out, pause. Don't immediately judge. Ask, what pain might this person be carrying? Maybe it's fear, insecurity, or unmet needs. By choosing curiosity over condemnation, you stay grounded, and often, you disarm the conflict before it ignites. 2. Choose your battles with wisdom. Not every disagreement deserves your energy. Before engaging, ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Does this align with my values? If not, let it go. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you always own the option of having no opinion. Silence can be a form of strength. 3. Speak with calm conviction. Use your words like a sculptor uses a chisel, with care. Replace blame with I statements. Don't escalate. Communicate your truth with clarity and compassion. Remember, the goal isn't to dominate, it's to be understood. 4. Seek common ground. Even in the fiercest arguments, there's almost always something shared, a concern, a value, a goal. Find it. Name it. Use it as the bridge. Because the moment we shift from me versus you to us versus the problem, everything changes. 5. Reflect their values. People listen when they feel seen. If someone values fairness, justice, or loyalty, speak to that. Show how your viewpoint honors those values. When someone hears themselves in your message, they're more likely to truly listen. 6. Use humor to heal, not to hurt. Conflict tenses the mind. Laughter relaxes it. A light-hearted comment, delivered kindly, can cut through tension like a warm breeze. But never use sarcasm or ridicule. True humor connects, not divides. 7. Offer empathy, not judgment. You don't have to agree to empathize. Listen with your whole presence. Let people feel heard. When you acknowledge someone's experience, their defenses lower. Suddenly, they're no longer fighting you, they're feeling safe enough to share honestly. 8. Master the art of compromise. You don't lose when you bend, you grow. Compromise doesn't mean surrendering your values. It means understanding what truly matters, and letting go of what doesn't. It's a powerful act of discernment. 9. Ask for help when needed. Sometimes, clarity needs a third perspective. Whether it's a therapist, a mentor, or a wise friend, don't be too proud to seek insight. Even Marcus Aurelius sought counsel. Strength isn't silence, it's knowing when to reach out. 10. Forgive to free yourself. Harboring resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness isn't about condoning. It's about releasing. Not for their peace, for yours. Let it go. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. 11. Learn from every conflict. Every clash is a mirror. It shows you what triggers you, where you're still reactive, and where you still have work to do. Don't rush past it. Reflect. Journal. Ask, what did this teach me about myself? Growth lives in that question. 12. Define and defend your boundaries. You teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate. Boundaries are not punishments. They're guideposts. Protect your time. Protect your energy. Protect your spirit. Say no, not with anger, but with certainty. 13. Own your reactions. You can't control what others do. But you always control how you respond. That's your ultimate power. Pause. Breathe. Choose. As Viktor Frankl said, a modern Stoic in his own right, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose. Now take a moment and let all that sink in. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require perfection. It doesn't ask you to be unshakable all the time. It simply invites you to pause more often, to reflect more deeply, and to live more consciously. And the reward? A life with fewer regrets, deeper relationships, and a sense of peace that no one can take away. This isn't about becoming some emotionless statue. On the contrary, the Stoic feels everything, but is mastered by nothing. The Stoic walks through chaos with calm eyes, speaks truth without shouting, and leads not by force, but by example. Conflict will never disappear. It's part of life. But your reaction to it? That's entirely within your control. And when you practice these 13 techniques, when you live them, not just know them, you transform. Not just into someone who avoids fights, but someone who brings clarity to confusion, wisdom to emotion, and stillness to storms. And that is the Stoic path.